Reports are emerging that Dort is demanding the NBA take immediate action against Nikola Jokic following what sources describe as a tense backstage confrontation between the two players. According to insiders, the alleged incident happened shortly after their recent game and has already created serious buzz across the league. Dort has reportedly filed a formal complaint claiming the altercation continued away from the cameras and is urging the NBA to consider disciplinary action, including a possible suspension before the playoffs begin. If these reports are accurate, the situation could have major consequences for both teams as the season heads toward its most critical stretch. To understand why this situation is drawing so much attention, we need to look back at the game where the tension first exploded. On February 27, 2026, the Oklahoma City Thunder hosted the Denver Nuggets at the Paycom Center. The matchup already carried a playoff-like intensity. The Thunder entered as the defending champions, while the Nuggets were led by their superstar center Jokic. Adding even more drama was the heated MVP race between Jokic and Gilgeous-Alexander, which had become one of the biggest storylines in the entire league. With both teams also carrying the memory of their brutal 7-game Western Conference semifinal battle the previous year, the stage was set for an emotional night. The moment that sparked everything came late in the fourth quarter. With just over 8 minutes remaining, Dort appeared to trip Jokic while the Serbian star was jogging up the court. Dort backed into him and extended his right foot, sending Jokic crashing to the floor. The play immediately caught everyone's attention because the ball wasn't even near either player. It didn't look like a typical basketball collision or a scramble for possession. To many watching, it appeared intentional. Jokic wasted no time reacting. The moment he got back to his feet, he marched straight toward Dort and confronted him face to face. The tension escalated instantly as the two exchanged words and physical contact. The situation intensified further when Thunder center Jalen Williams stepped in to defend his teammate. What followed was a heated exchange of shoves, jersey grabs, and visible frustration from Jokic, who looked furious during the confrontation. Players from both benches rushed in, and coaches quickly tried to calm things down before the situation spiraled further. Officials immediately stopped the game and went to the monitor to review the play. After examining the footage, referees upgraded Dort's foul to a flagrant 2, which resulted in an automatic ejection. Jokic and Williams each received technical fouls but were allowed to remain in the game. Despite the chaos, the game itself continued to deliver high drama. The Thunder ultimately pulled off a 127-121 victory in overtime, but the post-game conversation was dominated by the altercation rather than the result. Crew chief James Williams later explained the decision in the official pool report, stating that Dort's action was ruled unnecessary and excessive with a high potential to cause injury. Because the contact triggered an on-court confrontation that escalated quickly, the referees felt the flagrant 2 penalty was justified. After the game, Jokic addressed the situation directly. He called the original trip an unnecessary play but defended his reaction, saying he felt it was a natural response in the moment. Jokic also expressed confidence that he wouldn't be ejected because, in his words, he didn't throw a punch or cross the line. Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault offered a calmer perspective, describing the moment as a clash between two intense competitors in a highly physical game. Still, he raised questions about how similar plays will be judged going forward. If tripping a player on the run is now considered a flagrant 2 offense, he argued, the league should enforce that standard consistently for every player. Now, with reports surfacing about a possible backstage confrontation and Dort allegedly pushing for further punishment, the story may not be over. If the NBA decides to investigate, it could impact not only the players involved but also the playoff race. That response did not sit well with the Denver Nuggets organization or much of the basketball world. While the Oklahoma City Thunder ultimately won the game, the controversy surrounding the fourth quarter incident was only beginning. Dort was not made available to the media afterward, leaving many questions unanswered as the story quickly gained momentum. Inside the arena, Thunder fans loudly booed Nikola Jokic every time he touched the ball following the altercation. But outside the arena, the reaction was even louder. Clips of the moment spread rapidly across social media, replayed again and again as fans and analysts dissected the controversial play from every angle. In the days following the February 27th matchup, the reaction across the basketball community was overwhelming and largely one-sided. Many fans, analysts, and former players believed Dort's move went beyond physical defense. Instead, they described it as a targeted attempt to injure the Nuggets franchise player. What made the situation even more alarming was the context surrounding Jokic's health. The Denver star had recently returned from a 16-game absence due to a left knee injury, and the play appeared to target that same leg. While Jokic fortunately avoided serious harm, the slow-motion replay intensified the outrage. To many observers, the risk of re-injury made the moment feel far more dangerous than a routine foul. As the video continued to circulate, the online reaction grew increasingly intense. Calls for Adam Silver and the NBA league office to intervene flooded social media. Many fans argued that a simple ejection was not enough punishment for a play they viewed as reckless and potentially malicious. Some posts even demanded severe consequences. One viral comment called for Dort to be suspended for the remainder of the regular season and the playoffs, urging the league to set an example. Others echoed similar sentiments, insisting the NBA should crack down on dangerous plays before someone gets seriously hurt. The backlash also affected the perception of the defending champions. Across online forums and comment sections, criticism of the Thunder began to grow. Some fans labeled the team increasingly unlikable, claiming the incident reinforced the image of a physical squad willing to push the limits. 2 days later, the controversy escalated when Nuggets head coach David Adelman publicly addressed the play. Adelman did not hold back. He described Dort's trip as both cheap and malicious, emphasizing that the situation could have easily resulted in a serious injury to Denver's superstar. Adelman also took issue with how the Thunder appeared to downplay the incident after the game. From his perspective, dismissing a potentially dangerous play involving a franchise player was difficult to understand. While he acknowledged Dort's talent and reputation as a strong defender, Adelman insisted the play itself crossed the line. During an interview with The Athletic, Adelman also defended Jokic's reaction on the court. He explained that Jokic is usually composed throughout the season, but moments like this can push even the calmest players to their limits. Considering the physical battles Jokic faces every night, Adelman suggested that most competitors would have reacted the same way. Meanwhile, Thunder players appeared to stand firmly behind their teammates. Several players shared images on social media of Jalen Williams looking furious during the confrontation, almost as if signaling their support and unity. Rather than calming the situation, those posts only added more fuel to the growing debate. Then came another twist. A viral Facebook post began circulating online claiming the NBA had suspended Dort for 10 games because of the incident. However, that report turned out to be misleading. The league had not officially announced any suspension for Dort following the Flagrant 2 ejection. While the NBA still retained the option to review the play and issue a fine or suspension afterward, no formal punishment had been confirmed at the time of those reports. The debate quickly spread across sports media. Analysts, fans, and former players all weighed in on whether the ejection alone was enough punishment. On Inside the NBA, Hall of Fame analysts Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal both supported Jokic's response. O'Neal acknowledged that physical play is part of basketball but argued that targeting a player's leg crossed a dangerous line. Prominent NBA commentator Bill Simmons offered another perspective. He suggested the Thunder may have unintentionally created a new identity through the incident, one that cast them as the NBA's newest villains. According to Simmons, the play was one of the dirtiest moments seen in the league that season. At that point, the narrative surrounding Dort began to split into two camps. Some believed he was simply a tough, physical defender who made a mistake in the heat of competition. Others saw him as a repeat offender whose aggressive style needed stronger league discipline. The Jokic incident also didn't exist in isolation. Critics quickly began pointing to Dort's history of physical play. Over his 7 NBA seasons, he has accumulated 9 technical fouls, 6 flagrant fouls, and 4 career ejections. While those numbers alone don't necessarily define a player as dirty, especially compared to enforcers like Draymond Green or Isaiah Stewart, they helped fuel the narrative that Dort thrives in physical, confrontational situations. Shortly after the incident, a viral compilation video began circulating online. The video highlighted several past moments involving Dort that critics claimed showed a pattern of overly aggressive plays. For many viewers, that compilation transformed the Jokic incident from a single controversial foul into something that looked like part of a much larger story. And once that narrative took hold, the debate around Dort and the Thunder only grew louder. The viral compilation that surfaced after the controversy didn't focus on just one play. Instead, it spanned multiple seasons and highlighted a series of moments involving Luguentz Dort that critics say reveal a pattern of overly aggressive defense. One clip from this season shows Dort tangling with Kevin Durant as Durant attempted to come off a screen. In the play, Durant's legs were taken out from under him, sending the veteran star to the floor. Later in that same game, Dort pushed Durant down again on another possession. Both incidents were ruled as fouls, but the visuals were striking. To many viewers, the plays looked less like routine physical defense and more like borderline takedowns. Another controversial sequence involved rising superstar Victor Wembanyama. In that moment, Wembanyama was already boxed out and surrounded by two defenders when Dort arrived late and shoved him to the floor. No foul was called, but the play raised eyebrows. When a player is already neutralized in a possession, that kind of extra contact can push the limits of what's considered safe. Looking further back only added more fuel to the debate. In one clip from the previous season, Dort was seen fighting through a screen while defending Kyrie Irving set by Daniel Gafford. During the sequence, Dort appeared to swing low and strike Gafford in the groin area. Another controversial moment surfaced from the 2024 Western Conference semifinals, where a similar low blow appeared on camera. Even the 2025 NBA Finals had its own controversial moment. In one possession, Dort shoved Tyrese Haliburton to the floor before stealing the ball, without a foul being called. Moments like these began to build a narrative that Dort's physical style sometimes crosses uncomfortable boundaries. The Christmas Day matchup against the San Antonio Spurs became another flashpoint before the Jokic incident ever occurred. During one play, as the ball was in the air and players fought for rebounding position, Dort appeared to crash into Wembanyama's legs, sending the towering rookie tumbling to the floor while grabbing at his leg. A few minutes later in the third quarter, another moment drew attention when Dort seemed to swing a knee toward Wembanyama after biting on a pump fake. The play sparked concern from fans and commentators alike. Fortunately for the Spurs, Wembanyama eventually stood up and continued playing without any visible injury, finishing the game with 26 minutes, his highest workload since returning from a 12-game absence. Then came another heated moment earlier in 2026 involving Jeremiah Fears of the New Orleans Pelicans. As the final buzzer sounded in a Thunder victory in late January, Dort and the rookie exchanged shoves on the court. The confrontation continued into the tunnel after the game. Leaked audio from the hallway captured Dort warning Fears not to provoke him, while the rookie fired back with his own heated response. The tension was so high that several Pelican staff members had to physically hold Fears back as the situation threatened to escalate. Looking even further back in Dort's career, the physical confrontations have appeared at different points. His first NBA ejection came during the 2021-22 season when he elbowed Kevin Love of the Cleveland Cavaliers, resulting in a flagrant 2 foul. After 2 relatively quiet seasons without ejections, Dort received another flagrant 2 in early 2023 during a play involving Daniel Gafford, then with the Dallas Mavericks. Individually, none of these plays necessarily defines a player. Physical defense has always been part of basketball. But when similar moments begin stacking up over time, the conversation changes. Even if the league doesn't always issue harsh penalties, the video evidence remains, and it can shape how players are perceived around the league. That perception is what makes the recent incident involving Nikola Jokic so significant. Dort, who earned all defensive team honors the previous year and plays a critical role in the defensive identity of the Oklahoma City Thunder, has long been praised for his relentless effort. Since entering the NBA in 2019, he has built a reputation as one of the league's toughest perimeter defenders. However, after several controversial moments this season, that reputation has begun to shift. The Jokic incident didn't create the debate, it amplified it. What had been a slow burn suddenly exploded into a league-wide discussion. 4 days after the incident, following the Thunder's 116-108 win over the Chicago Bulls on March 4, Dort finally addressed the situation publicly. Speaking with journalist Joel Lorenzi of The Athletic, Dort admitted he crossed the line. He described the matchup as an intense and physical battle but acknowledged that the contact with Jokic was unnecessary. According to Dort, the ejection was deserved and he understood why the officials made that decision. Still, he emphasized that his style of play comes from a competitive mindset. Dort didn't deny the incident or attempt to claim it was accidental. Instead, he openly admitted that he went too far in the moment. At the same time, he rejected the label that many critics had begun attaching to him. "I don't think I'm a dirty player," Dort said. He added that he cannot control how the media frames the story or the kind of attention controversy generates. What he can control, he explained, is how he plays and how he supports his teammates on the court. He also pointed out that his role often requires him to guard the league's most dangerous scorers night after night, which naturally leads to physical battles. According to Dort, playing hard and aggressively is simply part of doing his job, even if some people believe he occasionally goes too far. But this story doesn't end there. Because another major NBA incident earlier in the season created an important precedent for what happens when confrontations spill beyond the court. In late December, Dennis Schroeder of the Sacramento Kings was suspended for 3 games after a post-game confrontation with Luka Doncic following a loss to the Los Angeles Lakers. During the game, the two players exchanged heated words. At one point, Doncic mocked Schroeder about a contract extension he had previously declined with the Lakers. The tension appeared to fade once the game ended, but the situation took a dramatic turn nearly 40 minutes later. Inside the tunnels of Crypto.com Arena, Schroeder reportedly waited for Doncic and confronted him again. According to reports from Shams Charania, Schroeder attempted to swing at Doncic during the confrontation. The NBA determined that Schroeder tried to strike Doncic but did not actually make contact. Even so, the league treated the attempt seriously. Schroeder received a 3-game suspension along with a significant financial penalty. The message from the league was clear: confrontations that escalate beyond the court, especially in tunnels and backstage areas, can lead to immediate discipline. And that precedent is exactly why the reported backstage tension between Dort and Jokic is now drawing so much attention. Because if the NBA believes a similar situation occurred again, the consequences could extend far beyond a single ejection. One thing the NBA has made very clear in recent years is that conflicts cannot follow players off the court. Once the game ends, the battle is supposed to stay on the hardwood. You cannot carry a personal grievance into the tunnels, locker rooms, or backstage hallways. It doesn't matter how heated the trash talk was during the game or how disrespected a player might feel. If an altercation continues away from the court, the league will investigate, and if necessary, it will punish the players involved. That's why the earlier confrontation between Dennis Schroeder and Luka Doncic became such an important reference point this season. The NBA suspended Schroeder for 3 games after he confronted Doncic in the tunnels following a December matchup. The league concluded that Schroeder had sought out Doncic and attempted to strike him, even though no punch actually landed. For many fans and analysts, that suspension established a clear precedent. The league showed that it is willing to step in when confrontations escalate beyond the court. That precedent is exactly why the debate surrounding Luguentz Dort intensified after his controversial play against Nikola Jokic. The question being asked across sports media was simple: if the NBA was willing to suspend Schroeder for attempting to strike Doncic in a hallway, why wouldn't it consider further discipline for what some believed was a deliberate attempt to injure a 3-time MVP during live play? Of course, the situations are not identical. Schroeder's incident happened away from the court and involved an attempted strike after the game had already ended. Dort's situation occurred during live gameplay